Okay, better? Do I have sound? Yes, I'm trusting that I do. Let me start over. Welcome to session number 1 of 12 sessions on the primer for absolutely everybody for a life of spiritual power. I have been being called to lay down this framework for a long time. It starts right now. Human, Jan Jennings says she has sound for me now. Let me see. Yes, you should all have sound. Let me know, please, before I keep talking and you miss something really, really important. You can hear. Okay, great. So I'm just going to keep on going. Um, So this primer is really, I'm going to do all the definitions tonight. It's like, what is a life of spiritual power? What do I mean by spiritual? What do I mean by power? We're actually going to be covering the 7, I would call them 7 non-negotiables that if you want to live a spiritually potent life, then the 7 keys we will cover are kind of necessary to embrace and to take on. And some of them are easy and some of them are not so easy. Um, this is my intention is that this gathering becomes an environment where you can go deeper, where all of us can together in the kind of this, we have like a Sangha circle going, a spiritual tribe where we can study and practice. And we do this not, I so I think it's important for us personally. I do. I mean, I want us all to be free. I want us all, the hallmark of a spiritual life is really, for me, if I had to sum it up in one big word, it would be authenticity. It would be feeling comfortable in your own skin. It would be answering your spirit's call. And that may seem trite or easy to do, but it's not easy to do for at all. It's not easy to do for most people. So anyway, so we're going to start tonight. I want to introduce myself. Um, I'm a person who knows that the world needs to be awakened and transformed. And I'm not the only one. You can just watch the news. It's obvious. Whenever we have so much craziness going on, it's unbelievable. But what I also know is that we can't change the world and not change ourselves. That out for the common person like you and me, well, I shouldn't speak for you. Since I'm not a Buddha or a Jesus or a Martin Luther King, I feel kind of like a common person, and I want to know what I can do. And what I can do is to work on myself, because personal transformation leads to global change. If enough of us become more loving, more peaceful, more generous, then the whole world will be uplifted along with us. So I invite you to be here for yourself, and I also invite you to be here for the world. Kind of a double blessing. So let me just share for a minute a little bit about myself. My name, for those of you who have no idea who I am, who is this crazy person here? My name is Reverend Denise Schubert. I am an ordained Science of Mind minister. I've been ministering to Centers for Spiritual Living Communities since really 2003. I've spent the past 20 years synthesizing the principles of New Thought, Ancient Wisdom. I also synthesizing also my success tactics in my prior career as a technology executive in California. And also my 50 years of living and practicing the principles of the Landmark Forum. So all of that's kind of came together for me when I was about 45 years old and had this existential crisis where I was in Los Angeles. I was making lots of money, smoking lots of cigarettes, chasing around my addicted to everything husband, feeling as if the totality of my life was just one big drama, and that I wasn't sure I was going to sing my song. or do whatever it was that I was supposed to be doing. I was not a believer of anything really particularly spiritual at that time, but I do remember looking up off of this dust ball, right, where you do know, right, we're on this dust ball hurling through space, calling it Earth and our home. And I remember looking up, really begging and beseeching, I didn't know what, to give me something useful to do, that I had had enough of trying to live by the world alone, and that I needed something that would give my life purpose and meaning. I was also desperately lonely, and many people are desperately lonely because, it's you and me, or you, me, and us three, or you, me, and whatever it is, that we don't really come into a Sangha or a spiritual community. And it's really quite important because the truth is that we are connected. And I know this. We are connected to every single animal, every single plant, every single mineral, every single rock, that we live on a web of connection. And to the degree that we don't know that is to the degree that our souls will languish a bit. So I've spent the past 25 years proving to myself that we live in a spiritual universe, and we'll talk to you more about that in just a minute, that the principles and practices of spiritual laws are real, and that we can use them to better our living experience. We can use them all to create a world that can work for everyone. So I'm happy to be sharing the end result of all of that learning so far, and I am still learning, as we all are. I'm still deepening and growing. But I started a life of spiritual power about 10 years ago. It's been classes, it's been workshops, it's been coaching, and I just wanted to do this kind of primer. I wanted to just speak it. Now, if you aren't on Facebook every week, Sunday at 6 p.m., that's no problem. As you know, on Facebook, the recording is out there on my website, on my Facebook page forever. I'll also post it to my website so you can see it there. But my deepest desire is that we spend the next 12 weeks together learning something important, answering a question that we may not know we even have, and to figure out how to be more authentic, more free, more bodacious, more loving, more kind, more forgiving, more prosperous, and in turn actually provide an environment in which we can make perhaps us, maybe you, probably a little older than you, but perhaps certainly our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren can have a different experience than we are having with when we turn on the news. So this primer is a pathway, and let me just kind of keep going and introduce a little bit what we're going to be doing together. By the way, you can ask me questions, so this venue is not a great venue for interaction. It's not a great venue for you and me to talk and for you to ask questions. And that's vitally important, by the way. So I'll give you the link at the end of our session today, but I'm going to go on Zoom on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. You can join me in my personal Zoom room, and we can then have dialogue if you want to have dialogue. And if you don't want to, then we won't do it. But I'm going to be available for the first week or two to see if people want to come and say, because I'm going to give you homework today. I'm going to give you an assignment, because if you don't do the work, if we don't change, nothing changes. So in this venue, I'm just talking, and you have to do the work, unfortunately. It just is kind of the way that it is. So a life of spiritual power. Let's talk about spiritual for a minute, because what I want to do is separate the word spiritual from the word God, just for the purpose of this venue and for this 12 weeks. Now, I don't have an issue with the word God at all. I don't really know what to call this thing when I talk about it that is more than me and me. That is the connecting energy in everything, including me. But God is a loaded word, and not everyone believes in that God. And in fact, if you were to ask me if I believed in the God of my childhood, I would tell you that I was an atheist. But that's not really what we're doing here. We're not talking about something outside of ourselves, something judging us, something deciding our eternal fate. We're not talking about that. We're talking about something that connects us to lions and to plants and to each other, that is our salvation in every true sense of the word, that when we find that place within us, that we get lifted and we get healed, we get whole, we get perfect. So we are deeply religious here, deeply spiritual here, but not religious. So it doesn't matter to me in any way what religion you are. In fact, we love all religions. It doesn't matter whether you're a Buddhist or Christian or Islam or agnostic, but we're talking here about something that's spiritual. Now we know one of our weeks will be dedicated to science, to physical science and spiritual science. But we all know that we're physical beings. That's self-evident. It's unarguable that we're made of flesh and bone. You know, we lose weight, we gain weight, we lose weight, we get old, we die, we can see, touch, taste, smell. It's obvious that we are physical beings. And we love that and actually come to celebrate it even more in our awakening, because we realize that we're actually incarnated in the bodies for the purpose of experiencing, and the body itself is a tool of experience. But what's also equally as true that we're not really taught as much is that we have non-physical senses. We love, we experience joy and awe and wonder. We have imagination, we have hope. All of these are not physical attributes, they are spiritual attributes. We have the capacity to watch our brains think. We have the capacity for near-death experiences. We have the capacity to have amazing luminous experiences that we cannot explain to another person, but we know that they weren't normal or regular. Some of us have seen apparitions. Some of us have conversations with dead people. Some of us, we have amazing spiritual experiences. So part of what we can do here also in the next 12 weeks is embrace that spiritual side of ourselves, because it's equally as real as our physical senses. So the mayhem in the world, the mayhem, do you know the mayhem, the abuse, the war, the hate, the borders, all the killing, the schools, all of that is the result of human beings being out of touch of their spiritual truth. There's that part of themselves that is love, that part of themselves that is capable of compassion and kindness, that part of themselves that is capable of transcending our human story. So again, to open ourselves to living a life of spiritual power is to step out of that as our only experience into a greater experience, which will lead the way to better relationships, better finances, better health, and simultaneously end all the mayhem. So just another reminder that we are connected one to another, right? And we're wanting to foster this connection. So a life of spiritual power is not a life of religious power. So spiritual here does not mean God as an external entity or a divine being we're attempting to get into right relationship with. It does mean that there is a spiritual energy or undercurrent that is available to us each and every one of us, not just some of us, all of us, and that when we get in harmony with it, we then can live a more spiritually balanced and focused life. And when we do that, the world gets better. So also the word power, so living a life of spiritual power, power does not mean control or force over other people or situations. Power in this context means influence. It means choice, authority, command over our own trajectory. It is the direct antithesis of powerlessness or victimhood. So living a life of spiritual power means living a life in which we are grounded in our spiritual identity, aware of how this spiritual universe works, and that we use all of that in order to architect our own future, to design our next moments. So rather than being at the effect of the past, we become the creators of a future. So power in this sense is really the opposite of victimhood. It's really having control over our own destiny. So it feels like it would be really good to share what a life of spiritual power can look like. Like, what are we striving for? What are some of the qualities and the ways of living that are available to us when we're living this life? So I wanted to, I kind of typed them in here, so we're going to go through them a little bit. One is to begin to orient ourselves into forward thinking from a space of unlimited possibility. It's not the norm. The norm is that we live a future based on what we believe is possible from the past, whether it's our conditions or circumstances, whether we're male or female, whether we're white or black, whether we have a college degree or not. None of those things are the writer of our story. So an awakened human being, a spiritually awakened being, lives from a place of forward thinking towards tomorrow from a space of anything is possible for me. And we're going to work on all of these things in the next 12 weeks, one by one. So the second one is awakened beings, spiritually awakened beings also live in the present moment. They live in the present moment with passion. Now, passion is kind of the opposite of resignation. And it's very easy to get trapped in resignation in today's world. Very easy, and many, many people are. I mean, I live in Fort Myers, where the Hurricane Ian just devastated so many people's lives. And it's very interesting because some of those people are kind of trapped now in the past and that story, and are struggling to see a bright future. Others of those people have come out of it already, are now living in the present moment and very passionate about what's going to come next. As spiritual beings, passion is normal. Excitement, enthusiasm is normal. Resignation, fear, doubt, and worry is not. So we want to begin to live more in the present and more with a sense of joy and enthusiasm and passion about tomorrow. A spiritually awakened being tends to live from the inside out, governed intuitively by an inner authority. So rather than waiting for cues from the outside world to be happy, or cues from the outside world to be joyful or to be hopeful, we come to understand that all of that is inside of us and that we project it. And as you'll discover, I can't remember, I think it's week 3 or 4, as we explore these spiritual principles and laws, you'll discover that when we project success, success happens. When we project joy, joy happens. If we're waiting for it to show up for us in the world, it may come, but very fleeting, and again leaves the effect of the world rather than as the cause of it. Spiritually grounded people, I love this one, have a commitment to what matters most to them. There's a book called The Soul of Money, written by this wonderful woman named Lynn Twist. And I saw her in person in Raleigh when I was up there. She did this wonderful talk about how when we can tap into what our souls want, our spiritual intention, if you will, we begin to commit to that. And it doesn't really matter what it is, whether you give your love as a teacher or as a doctor or as a writer or as whatever it is, that when you commit to that, when you commit to what matters most to you, life becomes eminently more interesting and worth living. Spiritually awakened beings are committed to that. Because we'll talk about that also, but when you're committed to that, it gets you out of bed in the morning, and it can transcend all kinds of other petty disturbances. So commitment. Spiritually grounded people are fearless. We're not afraid of no, we're not afraid of people not agreeing with us, we're not afraid of disappointing others. We just move forward from that intuitively grounded space, doing what is ours to do. So fearlessness is definitely a quality of awakened beings. So we kind of live in a world in which we're oriented to or convinced to not be too arrogant or conceited. Don't think too highly of yourself. Don't let yourself get too cocky about being better than other people. And on some level, that is a good thing, because you can't make too many friends acting like that. But you also can't do anything great without believing in yourself and trusting yourself and loving yourself and allowing yourself to express free of what other people will think. I always think about any of our avatars, whether it's the Buddha or Jesus or Martin Luther King or Thich Nhat Hanh, or I doubt very much if they went into a group of people and said, will you be upset if I talk about peace? Or that they ask permission in any way, shape, or form, or agreement. That's a better word. That they weren't saying, do you agree with me? They just talked their talk, walked their walk, knowing that they were guided by the spiritual presence within them. And people would say that they were people of high self-esteem. Deep peace is a lovely quality of being spiritually centered, grounded, and powerful, because it leaves you less caught up in the drama, the high drama of the world. That when you know for sure, so listen carefully, this is kind of a big idea for our first night, but when you know for sure that there is a power greater than us, that there is something that transcends our human experience, that is also us, it leaves you not quite so worried about what you hear on the news. Love, in the end, will win. I think it was Gandhi who said that. No matter what you see, in the end, love will win. If love hasn't won, it's not the end yet. So there's a deep peace that comes from being able to detach from the drama of the world. And that may seem like science fiction right now, but it is possible. And it is possible for you. So, yeah. Unconditional love and support. Unconditional love and support. Can you imagine what your life would have been like today? What your life would be like today if you had received unconditional love and support from parents, grandparents, siblings, teachers, priests, ministers, like like if the whole world just thought you were the cat's meow and would do anything to support you, we want to do that. We want to become that. We want to become it in how we are towards ourselves, and we want to become that in how we are towards other people. Now, obviously, in here, in order to actually live your life like that, there's normally some forgiveness work to be done, which of course we will have to do somewhere during these 12 weeks, right? Yeah. No, there are a lot of these, but I want to give you a sense. I'm wanting to give you what we're striving for, the possibility. And I'm not telling you this like I don't know that it's possible. I've spent 25 years working on myself, and it's just such a wonderful thing to share it. Not that it ends, there's ongoing work, but spiritually, people living a life of spiritual power are generous people and prosperous people. And they're prosperous and generous no matter what their bank accounts are. So feeling prosperous is not a dollar amount. It is a way of being, because prosperity means I have enough of everything. I have enough money, I have enough love, I have enough time, I have what I need to live, I have what I need to be happy. This is so not the way most people live. It's not. And we want to live that way, because to live with this overall sense of enoughness, and to live with generosity, that there's enough food for the whole world, that you have enough to share with someone else, even if it's just your time, is an incredibly satisfying way to live. Only two more. One is, the next to last is compassion. And compassion means I forgive you for your missteps. I forgive myself for my missteps. I know, compassion means I understand how hard this must be. I forgive you your cranky day. It could even be I forgive you your sin, your quote unquote, what we would call sins. Compassion means understanding the lack of understanding. So we're going to dive into this in one of our weeks, but it really has to do with, you can kind of personalize it, because I know for myself, if I had known better at 20, there are some things I would not have done or said or been. And if I can know that for myself, I can know it for other people as well. It takes a generous heart to be compassionate. And finally, there are probably others. I just wanted to make a list to kind of capsulize where we're going. Is that people who are healed, when we're healed of our morbidity, our negativity, our hopelessness, we become more useful in the world. We become useful people, because you can lift consciousness. You can raise consciousness in your workplace. You can raise consciousness in your family, in your communities. You become more effective in the world. And we need people who are effective in the world. We need people who are compassionate, loving, and kind. We need people who are generous. Yes, so remember always, I will always bring us back to global transformation is a function of personal growth. Personal transformation precedes our ability to affect any real change in the world we live in. So let that be a little bit of inspiration. Now, in the next 12 weeks, what we're covering are what I would call the 7 non-negotiables, or the 7 keys. I'm going to bring up a slide here so you can see them. The 7 keys, here they go. So starting with next week, and some of these will have more than 1 week just because they're meaty topics. And some of them, so right now I'm not really, hold on, I was trying to get rid of this banner here, but I don't see how I can. That's fine. So next week we'll start with understanding the limitations of what it means to be human. That will introduce us to a little bit of humility. the second idea is to exchange predictability for possibility, to learn how to live from a space of possibility rather than predictability. Huge topic about context and content. Or, yeah, that's good enough for now. 3, accepting both the physical and spiritual sciences. That's most undoubtedly 2-week session. Understanding universal neutrality. It's an engaging topic, isn't it? You'll have to come back. Number 5, it's really all smoke and mirrors. Number 6, it's all of us or none of us. And number 7 is embracing your true identity. So these are the 7 keys. I actually love, I originally took it off non-negotiables because I thought it would be too, that's very, I thought it would be too, a little bit sassy. But really, that to me feels like non-negotiables. It's like forgiveness. Like if you can't forgive, there's no way you're going to progress down the spiritual path to your ultimate awakening. It's just not possible. So 6 keys or 6 non-negotiables. I see what that is. Yes. All right. So the goal of the 12 weeks, my goal for doing the work, and you can accept my goals if you want, but my goals are for you to obtain clarity and commitment to the possible you. That it doesn't matter where you are right now, that there's always more, always better, always an expanded way of loving, always an expanded way of being. So clarity and commitment to that. Relief for any habits or patterns or life-denying behaviors, addictions, relief from them, that they actually go away. I did my master's thesis on spirituality as the only viable solution to addiction. That nothing else gives you complete relief. So spirituality does relieve you of, I would call life-denying behaviors are behaviors that diminish you or detract from your power. They're behaviors that make you feel bad, life-denying. So life-affirming behaviors are behaviors that exalt you and lift you. So one of my commitments is that during this 12 weeks that you get relief if you have any of those. And if you're human, you do. I promise. And it's really just a matter of degree for us as human beings, how much we look for ways to hide our light. And then the third is the confidence and skill to navigate an invented life, a life generated from possibility, a life of learning how to create something out of nothing rather than something out of something. And we'll talk more about that. It's a really wonderful conversation. So I'm very excited. Next week we'll jump into understanding the limitations of being human. Now, I would love for you to do some work, some reflection. You don't have to do a lot of work, but a little bit of reflection. So you might be looking at meditate, just sit down in a quiet place for a minute or two and begin to ask yourself, what do you really, 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 really want out of life? And I love the 4 reallys. I learned that from Wayne Dyer. What do you really, 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 really want? Because what you really, 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 really want will lead you underneath the surface. Like, what does your soul want? What are you hungering for? What would you give almost anything in order to experience or do or feel? And you might also answer the question, especially if you're going to join me on the Zoom call. If you're going to participate in the work, what is your outer intention and what is your inner intentions? So an outer intention could very well be you want to find a new job, you want to get married, you want to get divorced, you want more money, you want to resolve a health condition. Those are outer intentions. Like, what in the world would you like to see altered? And then inner intentions are, how do you want to change inside? Do you want to become happier? Do you want to become more loving? Do you want to become more generous? Do you want to become more joyful? Like, and these are qualities, not only you want to become, you want to embody them, and you want. Okay, I'm back. So, I'm doing these 12 weeks freely. Of course, I want everybody and anybody to be able to participate. So I'm not doing signups or payments or anything like that. However, I also understand the importance of giving and receiving. I understand the importance of that. And some of you may be called to do a love offering to my Let's Go to Africa Again fund. If you want to do a love offering, you can definitely go to easily just go to my website to donations, or you can Zelle or PayPal just to revdschubert@gmail.com. And I accept them and love them, and it's not necessary, but if you're called, please feel free. And also the Zoom. So how can I do this? So you all now, I'm going to post, let's see, well, here. So my Zoom room, my personal Zoom room, and I'm going to post this on Facebook tomorrow, is 479-283-9409. That is my personal Zoom room. So if you pull up Zoom and you do join, you just type in this phone number and there's no password. So it's as simple as that. And we're going to meet on Saturday at 9 a.m., probably for about an hour, maybe not even that. And it depends on how many people come and what you want to talk about. It's for you, not for me. It's really so that we can do dialogue. You can get into a Sangha circle with other people and share your experience, because community is almost everything. All right, so I think that's all I have for this evening. This is has just been let us meet each other, give you a little bit of sense of what the 12 weeks will be. The next of them are dedicated to the 7 keys, and we start next week with understanding the limitations of being human. So join with me for a moment while I speak a word of blessing on us all as we move into this week. Prayer is something we do, something I do and love prayer, to align ourselves with spiritual truth, to move away from what's not true, to move towards what is true. And this is all, something has to shift inside of us, and prayer is very useful at doing that. And so join with me for a moment by turning within to that space and place and dimension within you that is already as spiritual as it's ever going to get. That space and place and dimension within you that is whole, that is perfect, that is adored, that has everything it needs to overcome, to transcend any human condition or experience. So what I know for myself, and thus know for you, is that when we look into that heart space, we come face to face with whatever this presence is, whatever this energy is that lives in lions, trees, and you, is within us, and that it is the same within me as it is within you, that this, whatever it is, cannot break itself into 9 billion parts. So the fullness of it connects us to each other. Love is love is love is love, no matter who we are. And I also recognize that we live in a spiritual universe that is responsive to us. And so I'm speaking my word for us, knowing that the universe will respond. And I am knowing for each and every one within the sound of my voice in this moment that your spiritual destiny is guaranteed. that awakening is sure, whether it's this lifetime or next lifetime, whether it's today or a year from today, that you are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience inside of a human body, and that with your attention, intention, commitment, and desire, you will find it and you will expand in every possible way. I know that this is true. If I can do it, you can do it. And if you can do it, anyone can do it. And so I just happily and gratefully give thanks for our time together tonight, knowing that many of us are going to become good friends by the end of 12 weeks, and that we will all be different beings than the beings that we are today. And so this word is released. We accept its fulfillment. We do this together by saying, and so it is. Amen. So have a blessed evening. I will send out a link on my Facebook page to the Zoom call on Saturday, and I hope to see you there. If not, I will see you next week on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Peace and blessings.